Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks, bringing you your daily Tesla report for Monday, January 12th, 2026. Let's take a look at the charts. This is a weekly bar chart, and it shows 402.48 as a base of longer-term support, able to contain selling into the second quarter. From here, if tested, we can round up to 532.17. Over the following, I'm guessing here, 2 to 3 months, I think is actually realistic, following a test of 402.28. And worth showing that 532.17 is a 6-year rising channel top. That is a long-term ceiling of resistance for Tesla that may well contain buying not only on a quarterly, but even an annual basis. And yes, within 2 to 3 months of testing 402.28, 532.17 in play. And inversely, you could also say that following a test of 532.17, some variation of this channel structure at 402.48 would then be in reach. Now, a few weeks ago, we put out a new all-time high, and the following week gapped and closed below the low of that high of 473.82. That remains our what I would call near-term resistance. That is to say, a level 3 stars that can contain weekly highs, and from here we could fall away, perhaps back to 402.48. Once we test 402.48, you could play 473.82 as a 2 to 3, 3 to 5 week swing trade to the upside. Now, of course, in the weeks ahead, if we were to close below 402.28, and I don't show it on the weekly chart, but I do show the same on the daily chart. The 402.48 formation on the daily chart is actually 400.31. And were we to close below that, below this lower area on the far right, then we have a 2 to 3 month sell signal into the 310s. 316.20 would become, I think, a realistic 2 to 3 month target where we actually could bottom out by that point in time, possibly through the rest of the year and round up again. But we're not expecting 316.20 unless we close below 400.31. Inside of this, we have this 8-month channel bottom at 430.47 that we've been mentioning may well contain weekly selling pressures. We reduce it to a session containment level only because of the significance of that sell signal some weeks ago below 473.82, just giving the market breathing room. Now, of course, we bottomed out last week at 430.47. This is an 8-month channel bottom. We bottomed out at the same exact structure back in November and pushed on to a new all-time high. The same may happen over the next 3 to 5 weeks. You never really know. The question is, after having tested 430.47, might we expect follow-through buying? And I'm going to zoom into this chart here and just say that, yes, last Friday's settlement just above the 441.24 formation. I do want to see the market open Monday above 441.24. We closed just above this structure on Friday, and if we open at or below it on Monday, I do see a retest today, Monday, of the 430.47 formation, where we can place a daily low. 430.47 is our downward pivot point into later week. Just to let you know that if we were to close today below 430.47, I see this as a 1 to 2 week, by the end of next week or sooner, 400.31 objective. On the way down, you've got 412.19, the high of the low that was put out in November, and that can contain intraday, possibly daily selling pressures on the way down to 400.31. But we're not there, and where we are is after having tested 400.31, we are now likely, I'm going to say, to open above 441.24, just based on the fact that we did close above this short-term channel top. Having closed above 441.24, the structure that is today at 441.24, I forget exactly where it was on a Friday. I think it was 444 and change. Holding above it will keep the 470s in reach, possibly this week. On the way up today, I do have 456.45. That's an extreme channel top, but I do see that the settlement above 441.24, holding above 441.24, following the testing the previous day of this longer-term support at 430.47 does carry with it the sort of rounding up factor into the 470s. So on the way up today, 456.45 is likely. We can top out here on an intraday basis and even perhaps fall away back into the lower 440s on an intraday basis. But it is a holding above 441.24 that will keep the 470.38 to 473.82 region in reach with present volatility by Friday's close. And certainly, if we were to settle today above 456.45, I think tomorrow, Tuesday, we actually reach 470.38 to 473.82. So if there's a swing trade to be made on a 3 to 5 day, you can call it a 1 to 2 week basis, we are in it right now to the upside, holding above 441.24, anticipating the low 470s possibly this week. And if there's a swing trade to be made to the downside, it would be a settlement below 430.47, anticipating the very low 400 area within, this could be a 3 to 5 day high volatility sell-off. This could also take into next week to complete. But I think you catch the idea. Excuse me. So once again, assuming we open today above 441.24, we are anticipating possibly this week the 470.38 to 473.82 area. This is a good zone to take profits on a what I would call a short to near-term long position you may already be in after having tested the 430.47 8-month channel bottom and after having closed Friday above 441.24, that structure. We are anticipating the low 470s. And this is a profit-taking zone. You could also set a short here, anticipating the possibility of falling back into the 430s or even lower within a week, 2 or 3. But, I'm not expecting a full rounding south from the 470s. I do think we can get into hesitation and back away. I just don't know if we're going to see the 440s following a test of the 470. I'm sorry, I just don't know. Let me go back to this chart. Following a test of 473.82, I think you can set a short position, but it could be just back to 430.47 within a week or two of doing so. What my point I'm really struggling to make here is following a test of 473.82, I'm not expecting 402.48 over the following 3 to 5 weeks. I do think, though, you can play 430 or 435 as a target. And I say this mostly to you options traders. I know, for instance, if you're testing the 470s rather than reaching for a 400 or a 410 strike out of the money put, it might merely be a 430 or 435 strike out of the money put. That would be in reach within 1 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks of testing 473.82. And finally, last thing I'm going to say is if we do close, and let's just go with the week itself, Friday above 473.82, closing this gap on the weekly chart, closing back above the low of the high, we are then set within 3 to 5 weeks of doing so to test the 532.17 level. So your next 3 to 5 week buy signal on strength comes with a settlement above 473.82, then expecting the 532.17 6-year channel top where we can actually top out through the second quarter, possibly into later 26.
If you're looking for your daily Nvidia analysis, you can now find it at wickedstocks.com, where it's part of a full suite of daily analysis videos, including the Daily Spy Report and Daily Triple Q Report. Sign up now and get immediate access so you don't miss a single day.
And your next 3 to 5 week sell signal on weakness, I hate to say it, but it really is a settlement below the 400.31 formation, and that is more of a 2 to 3 month sell signal. Until then, we just have these kind of 3 to 5 day, 1 to 2 week swing trade below 430.47. I think that pretty much rounds it out. Please click like, share, subscribe. Check out wickedstocks.com. We got a 14-day free trial that we offer. I'll be back tomorrow, of course, with Tuesday's Tesla.